Hi guys, today I'm going to walk you through an Aesop Discovery Journey. But before we get started, I just wanted to take 2 seconds to talk about why we feel this kind of structured and purposeful exercise is an absolute non negotiable when it comes to naming, but also really for anybody who's starting a business or putting something out in market in general, right? And our perspective on that is basically twofold. The first is from a tech point of view. This kind of journey allows Aesop to take your words, your ideas, your specific knowledge about why what you're making is different and valuable and unique, and build messages that reflect those more specific ideas, right? So instead of talking about what you've made in, a more general sense or at a more category level, the names that Aesop creates can really reflect those messages that you as the creator feel are most meaningful and will motivate the right behaviors in market, making the names more tailored to you, right? Versus just to someone who's putting out your particular kind of good or service or offering, right? The second is from a brand building point of view, creating the space and taking the time to really think deeply about what you've made from a whole bunch of different angles: functional, emotional, experiential, construction, inputs, how it's made, all of these things really forces people to put a stake in the ground around their most high impact points of messaging, right? And that has, enormous value, of course, when you're trying to think of a name, because you want your name to speak to one of those high impact points of messaging. But also when it comes to setting the foundation for your entire messaging strategy. Once you get once you wrap your head around what these core stories are that you want to tell, you can make sure that all of your messaging, names, narratives, digital, physical, environmental, whatever it is, all ladders up to these same narrative points. And that can create a really cohesive cross touchpoint experience for users or consumers, which is a very, very powerful thing when it comes to getting people to interact with your good or your brand. So that is the value that we see in a discovery journey in general. And now we're going to go through one. So let's get started. So this is your Aesop dashboard. And what you do is you just click start a discovery journey, start an Aesop journey. And then you'll get taken to this slide that says, ready to go. And then just, talks about how your discovery journey is basically this agency inspired ideation workshop, right? There'll be 9 steps and you'll be asked some hopefully really interesting questions that will help you think of those high impact messages and those narrative points that we just discussed, and let Aesop know what they are so that we can use them as the foundation to craft names and stories specifically tailored to you and what you've made, hopefully giving you some really an exciting, valuable language to work with. So then we just click let's begin. And so the setup of each step, again, there are 9, is each step starts with a quote. So in this case, we have inventive category cues have a special magic that feels both fresh and familiar, right? So the quote here is just to help you wrap your head around what kind of language we're going to be talking about in this step. So here we're going to be talking about category level language. And then if you go to the right here, you can scroll down with this little button, and then you'll see a set of instructions for each step, right? So here we have pick 2 words to identify where your offering broadly fits within the market. These are called category labels. So that's what we're doing. And then beneath that, you'll see a bit more about what we mean by category label, just in case that isn't clear in your mind. So in this case, a category label is a market segment big enough to encompass your offering, its direct competitors, and non-competing offerings with a similar purpose, right? So it's you and it's those that surround you, for lack of a better way of describing it. And language related to category labels establishes a frame of reference and can effectively anchor more imaginative words in the right context. So now hopefully you get a sense for, what exactly it is we're looking for, and also a bit about why we're looking for it, the power that it brings to the table when it comes to doing, a broad naming exploration like the one that Aesop will do for you. So then you get to the meat of each step, which is where you actually fill in the blanks here and here with your words of choice. Again, the instructions are reiterated up here. So pick 2 words to identify where your offering broadly fits within the market. So today we're going to be working through an example for graphic t-shirts. So for me, I would probably use words like clothing here, maybe apparel, right? And if you're stuck for answers, these post-its are awesome. They really, examples of what good answers look like, right? They really give you an idea of the kind of language that would most appropriately fit in for each of these questions. So I chose clothing and apparel, but perhaps, if you were doing a real estate offering, let's say you're a real estate agent, you could put in real estate and community, and things, of that higher level nature. So then we'll just hit next step over here on the right, and we'll go to the next page. So here we have basic expressions of what an offering enables, and what basic expressions of what an offering is and what it enables. Speak to one's earliest awareness of need state. So then we'll scroll down, and here we're going to be talking about, a really simple definition for your offering. What it is, what it allows people to do, totally objective, almost boring in a sense, right? Just to really get down that crisp focus of what it is you've made. So for us, here in the offering kind of type first field, I'm going to say good. This could also say service. It could say application. It could say establishment, website, however, whatever the thing is that you're producing. And then we are making graphic t-shirts. Right. But let's say you were a children's barber, right? You would have something like my service is focused on kids' haircuts. Or if you were making an app, let's say, that helped create background music for various types of foreground content, you would say something like my app is focused on composing music, right? Then we go to the next step. And this is part B of step 2. So here we want to clarify 2 words for what your offering enables, right? What does it allow people to do? This is a much more kind of action-oriented question. So this is all about defining, not describing, right? Really, what is happening when people engage with your offering? So for us, I would say something like express style. But let's say you were a local community center, it might be connect with neighbors. Or if you were making a cooking blog, it might be read about recipes. Again, we're still at that very specific, straightforward, precise level. A good tip here is maybe think about how you can mirror people's first thoughts on what they need. So, I really need a blank, or I really need someone or something that's going to do X. That kind of really basic expression of need state, again, is what we're talking about in this step. And if you want some helpful tips for language selection, you can find those right here on the left. Just some thought starters in case you get stuck, as well as some examples of this type of language out in the world as names. So, for instance, if you need on-demand mechanic services, Wrench lets you know they're ready to make your repairs without the BS. So Wrench, very kind of basic, clear about what it is that company does. They fix things, they repair, but it's still quite a powerful and memorable name. So we hit next. So now we're finally to step 3. So this is all about, again, staying with that action-oriented focus. Verbs are highly immersive because they often get internalized to a first-person perspective. Verbs are a really great piece of language. They are so able to help people picture themselves in a specific context or doing a specific thing. They're fun, they're engaging, and they are really useful when it comes to naming, even though most people think naming, the foundation of naming is really nouns, maybe adjectives. Verbs can play a really interesting and huge role. So that's why we ask you for them. So here, what's the other task or action or activity that takes place when a user interacts with your offering? So we said, express style last question, and without using that word express, because we've already input that verb, what else happens? So, the truth is when you're dealing with t-shirts, you're wearing them, right? But perhaps if you were a graphic designer, let's say, what would be taking place when someone interacts with the logos you've made? They would be promoting, or they would be advertising, right? Or if you're a babysitter, right, what's going on? Maybe you're caring, or you're nurturing, or you're minding the children, etc. So again, that kind of really active, focused language. And then we go to step 4. So this is where we get to talk about the tangible benefits around your product. We call them valued outcomes, and they communicate exactly what your offering delivers to meet people's current wants or needs in a uniquely attractive way. So this is the kind of language that people really think about when they think about why their offering is valuable, right? It's sort of like what comes to mind first, those, unquestionable benefits that you want to speak to, right, out in the world because you think they're extremely compelling in terms of what you deliver to people. And they often are, names. You see a lot of names in market based off of this particular dimension of value, right? So for graphic t-shirts, we're going to say they have unique designs and premium fabric. Right? But if you were a florist, perhaps you'd have creative combinations and exciting variety. Or if you were making coffee, maybe you would have morning buzz if you wanted something a little bit more ownable and unique in terms of your inputs, and smooth flavor, right? What are those really basic observable benefits that you are offering people? And then here, at the bottom beneath each question, you'll see this little tip about when answering, don't worry about the things that get left out, right? So most offerings have way more than 2 valued outcomes, right? You could have heaps, you could have 10, you could have 100, right? But part of this exercise is, really being selective about what ones are the most meaningful to you and elevating those for the purposes of naming. But don't worry about it, because you have an entire messaging and communication strategy, a whole universe of stories you're going to tell that can cover off on the benefits, the valued outcomes that do not get listed here. So step 5, celebrating how something is made, sparks conversations around purposeful design and the exceptional results it enables. So I really love this one. It's all about hero inputs, right? It's about that X factor, that special sauce, or the force behind what makes your offering exceed the norm, right? Or stand out from the norm in the marketplace. This is, language here really helps pique curiosity and get people interested in what exactly it is that is being powered by something so excellent, right? So for us and the t-shirt example, we can say something like interesting art, right? Something, super different, super unique in terms of what's on the t-shirt. And then let's say you were an interior designer, right? Maybe your special power is this minimalist aesthetic, right? That's what you bring in that drives the ultimately amazing valued outcomes that you deliver for people's homes. And then we can move on to the next step. So now we're in step 6. So this is about the need behind the need, right? And about that more emotional kind of experience, that bigger experience that your offering connects to. So everything, even the simplest things, are connected to something bigger, right? Some more meaningful aspiration that a person is trying to achieve. And that's what language around the bigger experience is connected to. It's about those deeper needs that reflect ambitions around social fulfillment, self-esteem, personal growth, life experience, something that's really going to have a fundamental impact on somebody's happiness if they can achieve it, right? This is not about a solution for today's problem, but it's about something much, much bigger. And, because it's connected with those ideas of profound satisfaction and longer-term psychological rewards, language here can actually be extremely, extremely connective, right? And really stick in people's hearts, which is a great, great thing to have happen for your offering. So in the case of our t-shirts, we can deliver people playful originality, right? So allowing them to just be themselves in this really fun and really, specific and distinct way. And that is, a great experience for their self-esteem and just for, their ability to express who they are out in the world. But let's say you were a photographer, right? This could be something like lasting memories. So it's not just about, beautiful pictures and nice exposure and curated albums. It's about, taking the moments that matter most to people and allowing them to remember them for decades and decades and decades. That's something that's going to contribute to their profound happiness more so than just the physical picture they can hold in their hands. So step 7 of 9. So now we get to the aura, right, of your offering. So establishing the right aura builds anticipation around use and experience. We call these engagement and characteristics, and they're really about, the mood, the tone, the atmosphere, the traits, projected by your offering. How does it come across? How does it appear to people on the other side? This is very much not about how the user feels. That'll come next, but this is about, how would they describe your offering? What's their perception of your offering in the moment that they're interacting with it, right? So for something like graphic t-shirts, maybe you put unique and cool. But if you were a skincare brand, maybe you would be fresh and elegant. Or if you were a candy maker, maybe it'd be more fun and quirky. Again, it's not how the user feels, but it's how they see what you've made and what words they would use to describe that. And now we can talk about how the user feels, right? So promising to make people feel good creates desirability and drives demand, which is exactly what we want to do. So here we talk about the specific good feelings your offering brings out in people, and we call them mindset descriptors. Now, can these be an emotion? Yes, but often they go beyond an emotion to touch on a person's state of mind, right? Or their attitude. So something like productive or inspired or focused, right? Those aren't exactly emotions as we, tend to use the word, but they do describe the user's psychological landscape as a result of having interacted with your product. And that's the kind of language we're looking for, right? And it can be really powerful because it makes people think, hey, I want to feel that way, so I should definitely use this. So for us, maybe something like energized and excited. You're wearing your brand new t-shirt. You're looking all good. But if you were a personal trainer, let's say, that would be more strong and capable, right? I feel like I can really do these exercises and I feel like my body is gaining muscle, and that's like, a really motivating thought. Or let's say you were a candle business. You made candles. Maybe people feel relaxed and comfortable and calm. Again, it's how they're feeling because you're there. And then finally, our last step is all about collective identity, right? So reflecting collective identity helps people feel seen and understood. So let's label that, right? Identify 2 words that best captures your user's chosen identity. So this is not about demographics. This is not about, college students in their 20s or moms in their mid 40s, right? It's about mirroring how users would express who they are and what gives them this sense of individuality. Where do they feel most integrated and accepted and at home in society, right? And this kind of language is extremely powerful because it builds a sense of community, which can be extremely, extremely valuable for driving loyalty around what you've created. So for us, let's say something like offbeat curators. The trick here is to, don't be afraid to get a bit bizarre, right? Identities are unique and often quite quirky, and so is the language that we can use to capture them. This answer should be fun. It should be, don't worry about it seeming a little bit crazy. That's exactly, what we're looking for, right? So for instance, if you were selling cosmetics, maybe it's all about glowing goddesses. Or if you were all about making furniture, maybe the people that you make it for are decor hunters, right? Like really get creative here and have a bit of fun with it. And that's it. That's our last step. So then you'll just see this screen right here telling you that, you've done a great job and that, you can click right there if you're ready to make payment. And then Aesop will get hard at work, making your names, and we'll deliver them to your dashboard once they're done. And you'll get an email letting you know that the names are ready to view in their results presentation. So that's it for now, but check out our next video where we actually go through the results of this discovery journey and take a look at the very, very cool names that I'm sure will arise from the inputs that we put in there. Thanks so much, and see you at the next video.